We are back here with our Chalk Talk portion this time with Ms. Risa Isard. Going into it, we're going to be broken into 4 quarters since we are in sports and entertainment. We're going to start off in the first quarter with our preseason, which will be just an introduction. Quarter 2 will be your training days, which will be your early high school and college years and what that looked like. Your regular season will be your current role and how you've implemented sports for social change, and then ending off with some career advice in the playoffs for our high school campers. So jumping right into it, Miss Risa, we're going to go into your name, where you from, where you work.
My name is Risa Isard. I use she, her pronouns. I currently live in Washington, D.C., and I've been really lucky to work across the industry, college and pro sports, nonprofit sport organizations, even a think tank in Washington, D.C. I'm now a researcher and expert using sport for good.
Absolutely. What is one aspect of working in sports do you appreciate the most?
The thing I care most about is using sport to advance a more equal world for women, for LGBTQ folks, for people of color, people with disabilities, and other minorities.
Going into our training days, this looks like our early career path, high school and college years. When you were younger, what did you initially want to do for a career?
I've actually known since middle school that I wanted to work in sports, and specifically that I wanted to use sport for social change. I didn't know how I'd do it at the time. I just knew that combining my passion for women's sports, my fascination with sports business, and my passion for making the world just a little bit better was my calling. And I saw a real opportunity to do that through sports.
Speaking to your point of you getting that early experience and you found out it was something that you could see yourself doing long term, what was that first glimpse that it was an actual career in sports, and how did you go forward with that? How did you move forward?
It came through a little bit of a personal moment of crisis where I was really involved in social change work and community service work growing up, and I also loved sports business. Like in 8th grade, I downloaded the collective bargaining agreement for the WNBA and I read it before bed. Like that's what I was into. And I didn't actually know how to bring that passion and that fascination with sport business to this also passion of making the world just a little bit better. And I remember sitting at the kitchen table one morning and like really grappling with this. And my mom just kind of challenged me to think about the ways that I could use sport to do good in the world, and the way that sport actually shows us actually a lot of inequities in our world. If we just look at the differences between how different athletes are treated or how different groups are talked about, different opportunities that are open. And so from that moment on, I didn't know how exactly to have a career doing that, but I knew that that's what I wanted to do. And that was the path I was going to try to follow.
So as you were following this path, who or what experience gave you your first break into the sports industry?
My very first job in sports was the summer after I graduated high school. I was working in the game day PR office for my hometown WNBA team, the Phoenix Mercury. I actually missed a home game to go to my high school graduation. It was such a thrilling way to spend my summer, though. I loved showing up hours before the game. I loved tracking the stats during the game. I loved helping reporters figure out the game stories. And then I loved doing the interviews for our home team and our opposing teams in their locker rooms afterwards. It was an incredible amount of access and a huge learning opportunity.
So throughout this time, who was the person or experience that really gave you hope and influenced you to continue going? Like who was a really big influence throughout this time?
That's such a good question that I wish it wasn't as hard as it was. I feel really lucky that I've always had a lot of support from a lot of different people. And I don't know if there's one person who stands out among the rest, really. My mom likes to joke that I have a personal board of directors. And so my guess that it was just everyone, whether they're close friends, coaches, teachers, industry mentors who supported me as I was creating this path and finding my steps and taking this journey.
Absolutely. Transitioning to our third quarter in your day-to-day and your career path in sports for social change. If a student were to shout at you on your day-to-day, what would they see you doing?
So I think across all the roles I've ever had, I've always had a variety of work. And so I think it's a little bit cliche for people to say every day is different. I think sometimes that's true. In my experience, maybe not every single day is different, but there's a lot of different parts of the year. So maybe, January through March looks like this, and April through June looks like this, and then the rest of the year looks like that. It's a lot of office work for sure. It's a lot of working with people, building relationships. It's a lot of managing different projects. It's a lot of email and phone calls, now Zoom calls. And it's a lot of details, making sure that everything can stay straight and aligned and is accounted for and really is pushing towards our ultimate goal.
So being that you have all these different roles and different responsibilities, What are two aspects of your job that you feel are most satisfying?
I really like when I have the opportunity to blend being really collaborative with teammates and having awesome partners in my work, and also having a bit of autonomy and some responsibility that really lands on my shoulders. It's exhilarating. There's a lot of pressure, but it's really such a privilege to get to create a vision and see it to life, and to have teammates supporting you and being your thought partners along the way.
What one skill has helped you continuously have success throughout your sports career?
I think it's really hard to pick just one skill, so if I can narrow it down to three, I think being a strong writer is really important. We have to be able to communicate with our teams, with our partners. We have to be able to build relationships through writing and through communication and phone calls. So good people skills is number two. And then number three is project management. So really understanding deadlines and timelines and all the different moving parts to bring something together, and being able to envision that, lay it out, and then execute it against it.
So being that that you have had all these different experiences, what has kind of been one challenge or obstacle that you had to overcome throughout your early career?
You know, Christian, I think we were talking earlier about just what it means to be a minority in sports, to be a woman, to be a queer person, not knowing whether or not I could be out in my job and how to do that and navigate that, not knowing if I was always being treated the same as my male counterparts. I mean, I think those are really challenging circumstances to be in, and to figure out just how to be my full self at work. And then also to really be able to set boundaries with colleagues or bosses who don't respect boundaries, and can sometimes create a bit of a toxic situation. But knowing that at the end of the day, you are responsible for your work, and you also have to be responsible and accountable to yourself and your own well-being.
Perfect. So ending off in the playoff, I'm going to end off with some interesting career advice for the high school students. So if you could go back and tell your high school self one piece of advice, what would you tell yourself?
I would tell myself to not stop believing in myself. I think I'm someone who from an early age had a healthy dose of confidence and a belief that I could achieve my goals. And sometimes along the way, I lost that voice or that sense of ability to do that. There are other people's voices, sometimes some naysayers, and it's really important that if you have that ability right now to believe in yourself, that you don't let go of that, and that you continue to nurture that, and really hold on tight to your self-belief.
Perfect. And after attending this camp, what is the very next step a high school student should take to potentially be in a position like yours today?
Yeah, so as someone who cares a lot about using sport for social change, I would encourage anyone who also cares about working in sports and who also has a passion for creating a more just world to think about what is one or two causes that you really care about, and then think about how sports teams or leagues or athletes or organizations can help achieve that. I think the other thing to do is to find someone who is working in community relations or for a sports-oriented nonprofit in your local community. Maybe they're working for your favorite team, or maybe they're working for an organization that is focused on a cause you really care about. Send them an email and ask them for 20 minutes of their time for an informational interview. Reach out. People will be more than willing to give of their time than you think.
Perfect. And I want to end off with an interesting story that you would share with us. Being that you have a job that you get to help a lot of people and really influence communities, what's one project that really stood out to you that you've successfully completed? I know it's kind of like throwing you out on the spot.
No, it's good. It's good. In a past job, I had the tremendous honor of partnering with communities all across the country in an effort to grow access to sport for kids from all different backgrounds, regardless of race, gender, and zip code. And one of the organizations that we partnered with just won a really big award from ESPN and their humanitarian awards. And it feels very special to know that the work that I did that helped launch some things years later continues on and is worthy of some amount of recognition. More importantly, that the project has continued to be successful, and that more kids have more opportunities in sports in those communities today than they did before we started.
Absolutely. Concluding the talk, I want to thank you, Risa, for your really good insight and your unique perspective on being a woman in sports and a minority in sports. I really appreciate it. I feel like it's going to provide value for the students who are going to watch it. High school students, be on the lookout for more content we have coming up. Stay tuned for more content, and we will be back with another Talk soon.